Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Matthey. Emma and I are the Export Delaware team. Emma's the brains behind the operation. And so you all know, for those of you that are familiar with us, we're the export arm of Delaware state government. And our main way that we help companies enter and compete in the global marketplace is our Compass Grant. So we have rolling applications on that. I think at the end of the program, Emma might say a word or two about that. But our job is to help you enter and compete in the global marketplace. So we really want to lean into into helping you individually go where you need to go when it makes sense for you to go. So today we're going to tackle the question of where you need to go. So we have a really creative solution from Prime Target that's data driven that will help you select the right markets for your individual export product. And before I turn it over to Christelle Maffrey to introduce the product, you may recognize Christelle as one of our overseas reps. So we're blessed to have a number of representatives covering a large part of the globe that can help you in individual markets and regions. So our hope is that after you see the demonstration from Prime Target, that we can get some of you to utilize that and then get you to identify the markets. And then if your market happens to be France, Christelle will be the one that will help you do the B2B meetings. But if it's anywhere else in the world, we have a network, we have access to a network of representatives that can help you do those individual business to business meetings to target your product and to target that country, which is the best prospect for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Christelle, and she'll introduce herself and Paul Grossman, whom I've known for more than 20 years. Paul's with Prime Target, and he also works with IBG Global. That's our main network of overseas trade reps. So I will turn it over to Christelle. Thank you, Christelle, for joining us.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Emma. Good morning, everyone. So as you may know, with my French sick accent, I'm based in Europe. So thanks for joining this morning, super early for you, maybe not that much, but on Monday morning. I just wanted to introduce quickly what is Prime Target. And also we would like with Paul to explain a little bit the solution for you guys to be able to export in a better condition. And then we will also look at a report, a complete report. And following this presentation, anyway, Emma will send it to you, the presentation and also the report that we're gonna have. We're gonna show you the access. We'll have that after the presentation. So Prime Target has been founded in 2018 and is based on the information that when you are trying to export, you don't have sometimes the right data to make a decision. And basically, the founder, Tatiana Miron, who decided just to create this solution, is going to help you to prioritize and the export market. So today we're going to see into more details our solution. It's basically a solution that is a data driven, but as well consultant, helping you as well to do to take the comment and to analyze what we're gonna put together as data. So we have today the market ranking report is a 5-country. You have also a 10 and 20, but today we're going to concentrate on the 5-country report. You will see, usually you have a market study, and in this case, we would like to give you a solution that it's easy to read. It's really data, they are all consistent. You're going to have the same source of data for each of the data you're going to look for, indicator that you're going to look for, and it's going to basically help you to find which product which market will be the best for your product and services. It will be based on the market opportunity, but it will be based as well on regulation, on tariff, on free trade agreements. It will be based on your competitor as well, and it will be based as well on your capability, internal capability to export in those markets. We do the report, we're going to show you one, and it's really visual, and we deliver this report usually in 2 weeks time, so it's pretty fast and easy. As of today, we supported more than 350 companies, and I think it was the old number. I think it's more than 500 now. And we are working with US company, but not only Australian, South Korea, France, Spain, and so on. So we have now a knowledge with starting to be well known to help those companies to make the right decision. So I just wanted to emphasize, sometimes you're going to do trade and export, you're doing export, but you are maybe reactive to the market, you're taking an opportunity, you're not taking really the step back and analyze to be proactive. So I just wanted to highlight with Paul, we would like to highlight to you today, basically to be more proactive versus being reactive to a market. So being proactive, you needed to basically make sure that you have time to put your strategy together. You needed to also have time to identify those opportunities, those markets who are going to be basically your best market to export to. You also needed to gather some data. You also needed to get some people allocated to do that in your own company. You have so many things that results to be ready for the market versus when you are reactive, you are going to trade show, you are going to answer ad hoc request. You don't have a real strategy on the country. Really, the competitors sometimes are earlier than you on the market. So we just really wanted to highlight that today this solution is to help you to get a better ROI in your export service, in your export, by choosing the right market. Taking an example quickly as well, and sorry, yeah, that's great. So thanks, Paul. I'll show you anyway the sample report we deliver, and next, that's perfect. So we can do any product and services, and we've been doing a lot, any market in the world, and any sector of industry. Because you will see healthcare, biotechnology, defense and aerospace, anything. So basically, all the report will be customized. You're not going to have a company and the second company having the same report, even if they're in the same sector of industry. Every report will be customized to the product and services. And going into more detail into a real, basically report that we're going to show you, you will see a report mainly made for an American company and in the healthcare sector. But basically, you will see that what Paul is showing you is completely different indicator that each company will need it to get to be able to analyze if this market will be good for them or not. So I just really wanted to emphasize it's a customized report. It's a 5-country report. So let's imagine tomorrow you want to penetrate that's fine, Paul, that's okay. If you want to penetrate the European market, basically, Europe is 27 countries. So maybe Germany will be the one bringing a lot of opportunity, but it will be really better for you to go to Spain. So we're going to help you to decide which one will be the best market to be able to get a best ROI, like I said, and make sure that you can be prepared. You can be prepared to search for a distributor, to attend a trade show, to attend the trade mission with Export Delaware. It could be a lot of opportunity behind that, but at least you can build your strategy from this report and then be able to hopefully that increase you export. You have the 2 team member of the US team. So Paul is based in the US, in Virginia, and I'm based in France, where Prime Target is from, even if they have the subsidiary in Canada at the moment. But I just wanted to let you know we are the two of us are ready to help you guys. And also maybe to emphasize, Paul, that usually what we do when we do this report, it's a 2 weeks time to do the report. But prior to the report, we have an intake interview with basically helping us to collect the data that we're going to need to make this report and to also select the 5 country. The intake interview is about 30 minutes. Usually it's the company, Export Delaware and Prime Target. Then when we have all the information, the 5 market confirmed, we just run the report and we create the report. And then after we do another interview, another presentation of the report, and it's about also 30 minutes to an hour meeting, virtual meeting with Export Delaware with you to present the report and to make sure you understand all the data that we put onto the report. So I'm just not going to be too long. I just wanted to, you can ask question already if you want on the taskbar, but I want just to make sure that Paul will introduce well the report by showing you a report. Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thank you, Christelle. And can everyone see this screen? Christelle, can you see this screen with the report?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do, again, Paul Grossman, based in Richmond, Virginia, and have done a number of these reports, gosh, close to maybe more than 100 reports for U.S. companies. So whether you are a product company, a service company, any country in the world you want to evaluate, we can answer your questions. Folks, I would tell you it's very, very important to pick the right market. As Dave mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, we've been doing this for many, many years. Those companies who do not succeed in exporting do so for several reasons. One very fundamental reason is they're in the wrong market. So in today's world, with all the tariffs, with all the changes, with all the retaliatory actions, if you're not in the right market, you could be wasting your time and energy. This is the very purpose of a prime target exercise. So we take this burden away from you. We do the research very thorough, and then we tell you in rank order fashion which are your best export markets. I'm going to present to you over the next 15 minutes or so a report. This is a sample report. This is a real company. This is a company we worked with in North Carolina earlier this year. It's a little misleading in terms of it's not excellent, it's Excel, E-N-T, ear, nose, and throat. And so I'm going to show you this report, and then I'll tell you what the company has done with the report. So each of our reports is very data-driven and very graphical, mostly around 25 to 30 pages, but you're going to find tons of information on each page. And I'm going to sort of eat my words here when I say it's very graphical. The first 2 pages are text, but once we get beyond that, you'll begin to see how it's graphically depicted. So we start with an executive summary. We just have an initial context here. This is what we gleaned from a half-hour intake interview that I do with each company. Here's headquartered North Carolina, manufacturer of medical devices for people with have sinus problems. So instead of getting surgery, you can get balloon sinuplasty, which is less invasive, less recovery time, and almost as effective. All right. So they wanted to look at India, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, and the UAE. All right. So those are very disparate markets, right? The reason they wanted to look at these 5 countries is they heard that they were maybe some potential in these countries. They had attended one international trade show, and they had some visitors from a couple of these countries. And these are countries which do not require the CE mark, because they currently, at the time of this, did not have their CE mark. Now, the question for you is, if you were given this list of countries, which would you rank first? So just apply that to your own business. You may think you have potential in 3, 4, 5, 10 or more countries, but how do you know? And how do you know which country represents the greatest potential? That's what we do for you. So we looked at these 5 countries. Some large scale, not country specific information here about rhinosinusitis. You also see some embedded links here, which you can go to. I won't, but you just click on these links. It takes you to the data sources. So there's text here. Here's a text here that explains the summary, our analysis, and the recommendations. I'm not going to read that, but Dave and Emma will send this out to you after this webinar so you can read it for yourself. So here's the results right here. All right. So let me explain how this slide is set up, because all the future slides here going forward are going to be in the same fashion. On the left-hand side, you have a color legend. Dark teal is always good. Light teal still has good potential. Black is sort of average, sort of moderate, and red is not what you want to see. Red means observe, or in some cases it means abstain. On the right-hand side, you're going to have the source of the data. You're going to have the time frame. You always have a text box here. Important to read the text box. Offer some definitions and some explanations. But the reason why companies love these reports is because all you have to do is look at the graphics. So a dark teal is good. Black is less good, if you would. And size of the dot means something. This is your biggest market potential. Saudi Arabia is much smaller. Okay. Oftentimes, when we evaluate 5 countries, and always when we evaluate 10 countries, we'll have some countries that pop up in red, which are just no-goes. So for this company, they should focus, and I'm going to come back to this, guys. They should focus their time, energy, and effort on Korea, followed by India, not so much Saudi Arabia, not so much Taiwan. So this is an action plan. It's not a research report. This is an action plan. Get on a plane. Go build business in Korea and India. We're going to explain why in a minute. You also see numbers here. Korea has 61. Saudi Arabia has 43. Where do those numbers come from? So for every company, we do an individualized sourcing of data and weighting of data. So you have 5 categories here, equals 100%. And then you have subcategories. So you add all this up, and this equals 100%, which we give 45% of the overall weight to the potential customer pool, 15% to growth trends, 10% to market access. These change. These are not static. Had a company in Virginia that was very, very concerned about getting their people out of the country because they provided a service. We rated the country risk ratings much higher. Okay. So if you were to look at just by category, your 5 categories across the top here, where the customers are for this company, XL ENT, India pops up first, UAE in 5th place, with numbers, right? But the growth is in South Korea. All right. If you're looking at the risk, the least risky is South Korea. The riskiest is India. See, so this is sort of like the old parable of, 9 blind men touching an elephant, and each saying, well, one touches the tail, and one touches the leg, and one touches the tusk, and it's all report different experiences. If you just look at one category, you're going to not come away with a balanced view. This is a balanced view, the fact that we take all these weights and put them together. And we do all this. We're not asking for your input. We do this based on what we've done for hundreds of companies. All right, let's get into details. Again, remember your color legend over here on the left-hand side? Everything that we do is sourced, and I'll give you a list of sources. So you'll see the source, you'll see the time frame. You have an explanation in the middle, on the left-hand side explains what's in the graphic. You have the raw data. But all you got to do is look at the graphic. So the number of people suffering from chronic sinusitis is India, Saudi Arabia, Taiwan, South Korea, UAE. Of course, this makes sense, just based on the population of India with more than 1 billion people. So we address that in future data points. So we always have at least 8 market indicators. This is just one. If you were to make a decision on your market just on this one indicator, you'd be going to the wrong market. Remember, Korea actually is in 1st place. All right, so there's one. Here's the second one. The prevalence. All right, this is on a percentage basis. India is in last place. Right, over here you see the data source is on a percentage basis. Taiwan, there's more people as a percentage of the population in Taiwan that have chronic sinusitis than in India. Okay. So and you begin to see that, well, maybe emerging trends, maybe 2, 3, 4 years from now, I should focus on these markets. There's a lot of strategy implications for this. All right, you got to have people who can do this type of procedure. So we looked at ENT, head and neck surgeons, Obviously, India, again, because of the population. All right, well, a way to adjust that on a per 100,000 population. Well, then Taiwan comes in for first place. You remember they had a higher prevalence. Now they have more surgeons in this area. Beginning to see a trend, right? Then we looked at endoscopic devices revenue. If a market that you're in, if your customers don't like endoscopic procedures, you won't have a market. So this is an indicator, another touch of the elephant, if you would, of whether these countries do these type of procedures. This always explains it over here. We say we consider that countries with higher endoscopic devices revenue will be the ones with higher potential for balloon sinuplasty. Okay. Now Korea pops up. Now I don't know if you've been following, but I said each slide is chock full of information. There's two data sets here. The bar chart is the size of the market. So there were $558 million worth of devices, endoscopic devices sold into Korea. $558 million. Well, that's projected through 27. So last year there was 436 million. But then you have these triangles, right? This is the growth rate over this 4-year projected period. So South Korea is the largest market and growing at a healthy 8.5% per year. Slightly outpaced by UAE, but it's a smaller market. So there's a lot of data on each one of these slides. All right, we did this on a per capita basis. UAE comes in first. So it changes the game when you normalize these. UAE was last in total revenue, is size of the market, but on a per capita basis, they're in first place and fastest growing. Okay, India coming in last place. We look at particulate matter pollution, right? In terms of deaths, well, India is the most polluted. This is a contributor to chronic sinusitis. Look at this growth rate over here, the UAE. So there's all kinds of ways you can analyze this data, but we do it for you. We'll look at the prevalence of asthma per 100,000 population. UAE, very small population, right? But the very high prevalence of asthma. So you have prevalence of chronic sinusitis earlier, and now you have prevalence of asthma. All right, those are market indicators. And we show you how much weight we put on each one. Everything that these reports do is absolutely transparent for you. Switching gears a bit, we look at market access. We look at all the places where the U.S. may have a free trade agreement. We give you the effectively applied average tariff rates. All right. Now, we're offering new services that will also monitor the impact of tariffs, because all those are new and they're changing all the time. But this is a baseline. All right, real quickly, some export stats, because everybody sort of your eyes glaze over when you see this. For each company we work with, we get 2 or 3 HS codes. This is the code under which your product, this does not apply to service, under which your product, this is how all the countries capture trade flows. We do it at the 6-digit level. So most US exports in this 6-digit code, which is what this company uses, most go to Korea. You see the raw data there. You see the growth rate. It may be hard for you to see on your screen. And then you see the customs duty. So most of our exports go to Korea. India second, Taiwan, UAE in last place. We do this for 3. So here's another HS code at a 4-digit level. Here's a third one at a 4-digit level. But all this is customized to your company if you have a product. We then look at world exports to analyze countries. See, because the U.S. is not the only supplier of products in these categories. So another way to look at this is imports by country. So Korea is importing over $1 billion a year in medical, surgical, and dental instruments in this heading. Okay. You see this dark shaded line right here? This is the U.S. Market share. All right, so you can see they are a major market, and we, the U.S. suppliers, have, what is that, probably 35, 30, a third, 30%. Well, here you go, here's 33%. All right, we have much less market share in these markets. They're probably being supplied by European competitors. We do that again for all three HS codes. Coming down the home stretch, folks. So we then look on, and this depends on the product. Again, everything is, I can't stress enough how often how much care we take to customize these to your company. In this case, it's very readily accessible. So we looked at the number of registrations or regulatory requirements for you to export or for your distributor in these countries to import. And we normalize this on a scale of 1 to 10. It is easiest for you to export in terms of sheer paperwork to Korea, followed by India, Saudi, UAE, and Taiwan. And we give you in the appendix the data for this. All right. So there's your, now, if you go back, you see how all this ties together. The U.S. has a free trade agreement with Korea. That's why it's easiest for you to do business there. Okay. We look at your competition. This is a bit counterintuitive. I collect this information during the intake interview. We say where your competitors are, they have proven that there is a market and you should be there as well. And this is a little bit of an unusual report in that none of their competitors were in any of these markets because this is emerging technology. So we could not find any evidence of their competitors being there. Normally you'd have some teal or black dots, okay? Economic performance, GDP, GDP per capita, some of this is very important if you're more in the consumer-facing market. We do a country risk analysis 3 ways, OECD, corruption potential, and then exchange rate. All this is published data. This is not our guesswork, right? We source everything we do. So exchange rate, if you have a product that is price sensitive, we give you that on a quarterly basis over the last 3 years. So you can see, the US dollar fluctuated plus or minus 5% in India, plus or minus 20% in Korea. That's why it's rated red. And then finally, we put this on the chart. This is our, again, anything that we come up with, we source ourselves, and we give you what we think is your best market and what we call your prime target. So this is scale. On your horizontal axis, you have the market potential, which is based on the data that we collected. On the vertical scale is your capability as a company. Have you exported? Have you attended international trade shows? Do you get inquiries off your website? Do you speak a foreign language? Do you currently have a distributor in a foreign country? And then we plot and we say that based on market potential and your capability, in this case, South Korea was their prime target. They needed to prepare first before going to India. Taiwan was sort of neutral. And for now, they should avoid going to Saudi and UAE. Okay. And then we have, here's all the registration requirements for all the medical devices, processing time, 9 months, license, you get all this detail. This is in the appendix with links to the source data. Competition, we could not find any competitors here. Normally we find a great amount of information. There's all the sources. Here's the information I collect from the company in a 30-minute interview. And sorry about that ugly mugshot. So if you go back here, that's it. That's the report. If you go back here, you have an objective, validated, sourced, well-reasoned, weighted recommendation for your international business development. It's that simple. We do all the work, as Christelle said. Do an intake interview for 30 minutes. 2 weeks later, We get on the phone, I present this report to you and answer any questions you would have. So with that, let me pause and see if there are any questions. So while people's hopefully formulating a tough question for me, let me make a couple more comments. I have been astonished, and I've been in this business for a long time. Dave still has hair. His is white. I don't have hair, so I've been in business longer than him. I'm astonished at we have never not been able to do a report. You saw very briefly that slide that Christelle went over. Any sector, any product, pet supplies, services for biohazardous laboratories level 4, a lot of defense, a lot of consumer. So any product and any service. In the service, if you have a service company, sometimes we use proxy products as an indicator, but it's astonishing. I've been astonished by the research team in France who does this. They find credible data. That's one thing. The second comment I would make, where does our data come from? We buy a lot of data. I mean, you could buy it yourself, but it costs you money. We buy the data and we know how to use the data, manipulate the data so that it's easy to understand, right? And then the third comment I would make is, what do companies do with this? This company in particular thought, this XLENT, they thought that the Middle East was their prime market. They just heard a lot about it. Maybe they had some inquiries. And so when we said South Korea, that was a total pivot for them. Total pivot. I presented the report along with the state trade rep, so the equivalent of Emma, and it's like, well, it makes sense. The data's there, the free trade agreement's there. Yeah, this is, we look at this and this and this. So we've never had any pushback from any of the presentations that we've done. Companies get it, they understand it, and the next step is they turn to David or Emma and say, how can you help me enter these markets? So I see that we have a couple questions in the chat, so let's see what these are. Wait, first question, what type of preliminary research do you recommend that companies do before they come to you? Great question. And the answer is absolutely none. Absolutely. We don't, there's only one question that you guys and ladies need to give us, is which countries you want us to evaluate. Right? But you don't have to say, I've done some research and this is where I'm indicating. You don't have to give us anything beforehand. We do all that. So, and typically most companies will say, here's the 5 countries I want to assess, because maybe you did some business there in the past, maybe you got some inquiries. If you can only come up with 3 or 4, that's fine. We'll fill in that 4th and 5th country based on data. All right. So that's the answer to the question is the only thing you need to prepare is, the list of countries that you want us to analyze. Okay. Considering the prevailing tariff and trade wars challenges, would it be feasible to manufacture in Europe for the market where the cost of economics is more favorable and market placement is viable? The product is organic, functional health products. There's no physical export from the U.S. That is a very good question. It's a more detailed question, and we could talk about that than what these reports are. These reports will tell you, will validate for you, will confirm or challenge you as to where your best markets are. Your question, which I would ask Dave to follow up with, is feasibility of manufacturing in Europe. There's a lot of considerations there. Employment, there's some benefits, but there's also some very strong ideas that you need to consider. And then another question here is how do you price the reports? I'll let Dave and Emma handle that one. Um, all right. Any other questions that pop up from
No,
this
that I
discussion?
see. Yeah. So Dave
So,
and yeah, sorry.
So thanks very much. Great presentation, a lot to digest. I'll tackle the question of pricing. So there's a cost associated with this report. And so we're in the process of figuring out, we want to cost share that with you, and we're working internally how much of that cost we're going to bear. We believe in the product. We think it's a really good opportunity for those of you that are exporting and to kind of refine your markets. As I said at the beginning, we want to send you where you need to go, when you need to go. So this really, Prime Target and this report really helps tackle the question of where to go. And then with our Compass grant, we can get you into the market. We're going to be following up after the webinar with the example of the report. We're going to talk more internally, and we'll get some pricing info, but we're going to make it very cost effective for you guys to utilize this report. There's a phenomenal amount of trade data out there, and I think the beauty of this is that they can kind of aggregate all of that, analyze it, synthesize it, and present it in a digestible way that can really help you as you're doing your strategic planning and deciding, okay, I went to that trade show in Germany. Is this where I need to focus? I had some inquiries, or is it you're going to have a complete surprise like the example had with South Korea? So we want to really maximize, optimize your time spent in the market looking to develop business. And this is an important tool that will help us with that. I'm going to turn it over to Emma for just a couple of quick comments on the Compass grant, where we are in the program year, just the basics for those of you that may not know them. So Emma.
Hi, thank you, David, and thank you, Christel and Paul. This is very informative. I hope some of you will take advantage of this. We do have Compass Grant funding available to you. If you do not know about the Compass Grant, please shoot me a message or give me a call, and I'm happy to share more with you. That is your grant opportunity if you are a Delaware business based in Delaware with a Delaware street address and employees here in the state. You are eligible for Compass Grant funding to help you support your export efforts, whether that's visiting customers overseas, exhibiting at an international trade show, anything you're doing to support, to drive up export sales. We can pretty much support that. So we'd love to help you. Part of the fees of working with Prime will be covered by the Compass Grant. So we're really delighted to add this to our offerings because we do feel it will be very helpful for you, especially for those of you who are new, starting out. And we know that making mistakes in business is costly, right? We want to get it right the first time, and we believe this service will help you do that. So feel free, I'll put my email address in the chat. Feel free to reach out with any questions about the grant, what we offer, or how to get moving with Prime, and we will help you out with that.
Well, thank you, Dave. Thank you, Emma, for this opportunity, and thank everybody for joining us. Again, I just echo what Emma just said. You know, people I've heard many years ago that exporting is like starting a new business, right? You got to
We
get the
have two questions
regulations in
coming up.
place.
Sorry, Paul. Can we go back
Okay.
to the question quickly? Sorry.
Oh yeah, sure.
Sorry.
Let me pull
For a
that up.
report like this, how long is the finding typically valid for? In case of the
Yeah.
company to be able to engage right away.
All right, Clément, or I guess would be the French way to say that, Clement. I would say, with one exception, they're probably valid for about 3 years. That exception being the impact of tariffs, because that can change overnight and can change dramatically overnight. So we do offer a tariff watch service, which is something different. But you know, the number of people suffering from chronic sinusitis in a country doesn't change that much over a long period of time. You know, your product may be more mercurial in terms of marketplace, but by and large, I'd say 3 years. All right,
The same.
Megan, Megan mentioned the data evolve with the markets. This is a one-off assessment, or how do you recommend we track changes in the markets? Yeah, I would say that's sort of the same question. How long is it valid? You know, are you preparing such a data-driven report for commodities like metals, energy, etc.? Interesting question, if I understand the question correctly. The short answer is no and yes. Let me how I can explain this. So we do work with companies that are in the commodity business, right? And frankly, those are some of the easier reports to develop because there's so much data and it's such established business and such established trading patterns. So that's pretty easy to do. We have a separate product that we help states, excuse me, do by sector. So that wouldn't apply to anybody on the call here except for David and Emma. So I think the question, the answer to your question there is we work with, if it's commodity, that's not a problem. In fact, it's a little bit easier. We're doing it, for example, I just submitted a request for a company that exports Appalachian hardwood, which is almost like a commodity, right? I mean, it's priced, per commodity-like structures. So, Christelle, you want to add anything to these?
Yeah, maybe for Clément and Megan as well. So basically also when you have a report and you want a report to just be updated, that's also something that we can do later on. I mean, 3 years after we can update the data on the report. So that's something that Prime Target can do as well. Just want to mention it if you don't use it right away.
Oh, looks like we have one more new question. Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
But anyway, as I was saying, exporting is like starting a new business. You got to meet all the standards, regulations. You got to find customers. You got to supply customers. You're gonna have problems. You got to hire people, appoint representatives. But folks, if you don't get the right market at the beginning, it's all for naught. You got to figure out, and that's even more important nowadays because of all the challenges that are befalling us. So that's why we're seeing such a great interest in this report. It takes the headache away from you. You know that you're in the right market.
Well, this is a great arrow that we're happy to add to our quiver. And just a final note before we wrap up, there's a big ecosystem here in Delaware that can help small business. Export Delaware is one part we're pleased to have on this call. Carla and Nesrin from World Trade Center Delaware, which is a great organization that can be of benefit to all of you out there, and April King from the Small Business Development Center. Their programming is top notch, and they're very hands-on with the assistance they provide. So we have a whole team here in Delaware. We believe in the no wrong door policy. So if you have any questions, you can email any of us on anything, and if it's not in our wheelhouse, we'll make sure that it gets to the right one. But Paul and Christelle, this was a great presentation. I'm excited about this benefit that you guys are offering to Delaware companies. And as I said, please email me or Emma and engage with us so we can help you get into this, get into the pipeline for a Prime Target report and help you further improve your exports. And I see Carla just added her email to the chat and her phone number. So don't hesitate to reach out to World Trade Center Delaware for any assistance that they can provide as well. Emma, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's great. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll be in touch. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and your week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.